Okay, chat. I made it. I'm back. That's right. What's going on? I'm ready. It's fucking right. Wait, what's wrong with my voice? What's wrong with my voice? Here. On the other screen, bitch. How you doing? That's right. Yeah, I didn't sleep last night. I just woke up with this voice. I don't know what to do. Ever happened to you guys? Just wake up with a different voice. No? Oh. It's just me then, chat. Those birds sing. I'm kidding. Really would like to make this smaller. Oh, there's all the shit. Well, shit downy. Shoot down howdy. That's right. Turn that off. There we go. Oh, my voice is back. I got it back. I'm special. That's right. Gonna try it like this. That's right. Can't win, Chad. Yeah. Just waiting for people to get in. Nice. Nice. All right, folks. My neck. Ugh. It's better than the visuals on the video. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Good drum and bass, though. Okay, let's skip ahead, because it looks like they did. Oh, here we go. All right. That looks good. Am I right? What the fuck? It sounds weird. No, it's good. I think it's good. Let's see. Vocal. Spill. Slow. Vocal sensitivity. That's right. Okay, we're ready. We're ready, Chad.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Right. France and Spain are racing to contain wildfires amidst a heat wave that has temperatures soaring to 42 degrees Celsius. That's up to 107 degrees Fahrenheit. More than 360,000 people have been evacuated so far. On Tuesday, French authorities evacuated 4,000 more
like
people
California.
from tourist sites along its Atlantic coast. It's the largest peacetime evacuation in France's history. Earlier this month,
really
13
sucks.
people died in a blaze in southern Spain. This is a resident of El Tiemblo, Spain.
A mí me afecta mi corazón porque soy...
This has affected my heart because I have had heart surgery. That is how it has affected me. I've had to bear the rest, bottle my emotions and keep on going. I have to help my neighbors.
In Japan, at least 18 people have been killed after a powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck the southwestern part of the country Monday. Rescue efforts continue at a collapsed shopping mall. An explosion ripped through the mall about an hour after the earthquake. In Uganda, the country's health minister declared the country Ebola-free Tuesday. The latest outbreak of the disease had infected 20 people, killing 2. Since 2000, Uganda suffered multiple outbreaks of the disease. Meanwhile, Ebola continues to spread in the Democratic Republic of Congo, with the government reporting over 3,300 cases and more than 1,400 deaths. In Washington, D.C., Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended a memorial service for South Carolina's Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. They also had meetings with President Trump. After his meeting, Netanyahu posted a video boasting he had, quote, one of the best conversations, unquote, with President Trump. Meanwhile, in an unusual move, President Trump did not invite the press in for a photo op or questions after their meeting. Since Trump returned to office, Netanyahu's made 7 trips to U.S. Protesters gathered near the White House.
And he is the reason for the illegal war that has started on my homeland of Iran that is also currently being bombarded. And every time he comes to visit, our people, our countries get bombarded again. And we are here to make sure that our voices are heard, and he knows that we don't want him here. He is not welcome here. We know that he's a war criminal. We want bombs to stop falling on our people.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the Senate voted to confirm Jay Clayton as the Director of National Intelligence Tuesday, with all Republicans supporting his nomination and all Democrats voting against it. During the confirmation hearings, Clayton repeatedly refused to say Joe Biden won the 2020 election and declined to say that Trump had lost. Negotiations between the U.S. and Iran have stalled as Iran rejected a proposal to evenly divide control of the Strait of Hormuz. This is Iran's deputy foreign minister.
We told them explicitly that under no circumstances are they permitted to do so. We said that if any warships approach the Strait of Hormuz for this purpose, or if they bring equipment or any vessel or any other assets for mine-clearing operations near the Strait of Hormuz, they will be considered legitimate targets by the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Despite the lull in fighting, Iran launched multiple ballistic missiles towards a U.S. military base in Jordan Tuesday. The U.S. Central Command called it an attempted surprise attack. This comes amidst new reporting from Reuters that China is expected to deliver shoulder-fired air defense missile launchers to Iran within weeks. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia joined the U.S. in striking what they said were Iranian proxies in Iraq Tuesday. In Yemen, Iranian-backed Houthi rebels claimed to have launched a missile attack on a Saudi oil tanker Tuesday. The U.S. walked out of a UN Security Council meeting Tuesday during the French ambassador's remarks. It comes after France blasted the U.S. for voting against extending Volker Turk's term as UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. After the vote Friday, France's UN mission posted on X, quote, "The U.S. used to be a beacon of human rights, not anymore. Today it stands alongside North Korea, Nicaragua, Mali, and Russia, isolated, and the world no longer listens to it," France posted on X. In Iran, human rights groups say authorities have hanged 2 people who participated in anti-government protests back in January. The 2 men executed Tuesday were Amir Hossein Safari and Abolfazl Sepahai. Video verified by the New York Times show large crowds of protesters gathering near the site of the public executions. In Gaza, at least 1 person was killed and over a dozen wounded in an Israeli strike that destroyed a mosque surrounded by tents of displaced Palestinian families. Video footage shows Israeli jets striking the Al-Mutakin Mosque in Gaza City Tuesday, igniting a powerful explosion. 60 Palestinians released from Israeli prisons returned to Gaza, showing signs of severe injuries and starvation, with some of them so fragile they were unable to walk. The men were detained across Israel's most notorious prisons, Ofer, Negev, and Sde Teman, many held for more than a year, and recounted brutal beatings and other forms of torture by Israeli soldiers. In Israel, activists protesting against settler violence in the occupied West Bank clashed with police in Tel Aviv Tuesday. It comes as Defense Minister Israel Katz announced that he's ordered the IDF to take over a fourth refugee camp in the West Bank and expel its Palestinian residents. This is Ila 11, a protester from Haifa.
The reason I'm here today is because what we have seen coming out of the West Bank just the past week, but the past months and years is horrifying, it's immoral, and we believe that it is endangering not only Palestinians who are witnessing ethnic cleansing and the evacuation of their homes, but it's also endangering all of us.
A federal judge has ordered the release from ICE custody of one of the key witnesses in the fatal shooting of Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, the 52-year-old Mexican father killed by an ICE agent July 7th in Houston. Jose Trinidad Rojas Pliego must be released within 48 hours, the judge ruled. He was one of the three passengers in the van driven by Salgado the morning of the fatal shooting. Two other key witnesses, including his younger brother Victor, remain in an ICE jail. Community organizers Tuesday again disrupted a Houston City Council meeting. Salgado Araujo's eldest son, Ronaldo, addressed the council demanding justice for his father and an end to the collaboration between Houston police and ICE.
How will you show up for the rest of the immigrant community here in Houston to make sure that what happened to my dad, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, doesn't happen to any of them? This isn't a partisan issue. This is an issue of right and wrong, and this wrong needs to be addressed. Every single one of you council members have immigrants living in your district. How will you protect them?
This comes as Reuters reports more than 12,000 people have been detained after the Office of Refugee Resettlement provided personal information on unaccompanied migrant children, as well as their parents and sponsors, to federal immigration agents. Since January of last year, ORR has shared more than 460,000 leads to immigration authorities. Meanwhile, the New York Times has found ICE arrests have surged at airports nationwide as the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, expands its collaboration with ICE. Wired reports a longtime Department of Homeland Security official has resigned over what he described as Trump's brazen corruption and the quote-unquote war on immigrants. Mark Rosenblum served as executive director of the Office of Homeland Security Statistics, where he led efforts to publish information on immigration arrests and deportations. DHS stopped issuing that data after Trump returned to office. Rosenblum said on a LinkedIn post, quote, "It'll come as no surprise that I'm thrilled to end my relationship with the current administration. Between the war on immigrants, the war on feds, and the war on facts, not to mention the crazy war in Iran and the brazen corruption, I just need a change," he said. President Trump's reportedly pressuring Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to more aggressively push for policies that would further slash childhood vaccination recommendations. The Wall Street Journal reported the issue came up during a lunch back in May at Trump's National Golf Club in Northern Virginia, when Trump confronted RFK Jr. on why he wasn't doing more to probe a widely debunked link between childhood vaccinations and autism. At the time, Trump reportedly told Kennedy he believed the secretary, quote, had the yips, unquote, to reduce the number of vaccinations for children. Lobbyists and Department of Health and Human Services staffers reportedly told the Journal Trump may replace Kennedy with Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Chief Dr. Mehmet Oz if RFK Jr. fails to fulfill the demands. Separately, Anthony Fauci, the former veteran director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, is expected to testify at a Senate hearing today on the COVID-19 pandemic. And in Peru, Keiko Fujimori has been sworn in as president. She's the daughter of the former dictator, Alberto Fujimori, who spent years in prison for crimes against humanity committed during the 1990s. Protesters took to the streets of Lima.
President Keiko Fujimori does not represent us, ladies and gentlemen. What is happening right now in Peru is monstrous. We cannot live like this with this government that she has brought in today. And Mr. Rospigliosi has passed new laws, and they do not represent us, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we are here in the streets. Today they kill us. Today they murder us. Today they extort us. That is why we're in the streets.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Anjali Kamat, longtime Democracy Now! Producer who's back with us after many years producing and co-hosting. Welcome, Anjali.
I'm delighted to be back. Thank you. And welcome to all our viewers and listeners from across the country and around the world.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
So you came on our show today to call Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal?
I didn't come here to call him that. You asked me a question.
And you believe that too?
Oh, I absolutely
so
believe that.
How hostile! He asked him a question. So you came on our show? Here is a Fox News freak out when Bill de Blasio decides to defend Zoran Mamdani here. These guys are supposed to be Bill Hemmer and Dana Perino, nonpartisan. Hey, Dana, you look so good at lunch. They're supposedly the less partisan daytime people, and like laugh along with me. I mean, Dana Perino literally worked for Bush, so it's silly, but this is actually more editorializing than I see from Hemmer and Perino on a regular basis, and it's shocker. It's for on Israel's behalf.
He knew he didn't have the authority to arrest Netanyahu, but went out and said it anyway. And was that all political theater?
Right. I mean, I'm sorry. Would Trump ever go out and say that he could do something and never do it? I'm going to end the war in Ukraine on day one. That's just off the top of my head. Okay.
The fact that Netanyahu who is literally a war criminal. This guy's policies led to the deaths of tens of thousands of Palestinian children. And that defines a war crime to me and to so many people around the world.
Are you the defining factor? Like, are you the authority?
What
is a war criminal?
Look, the International Criminal Court should mean something.
We're not a party to it.
It still should mean something to the entire world. Because this is, look, what do you call
I'm sorry.
a leader?
Dana Perino bragging about how the United States exempted itself from the International Criminal Court. So people like the war criminals that she worked for in the Bush administration wouldn't have to be party to it. I mean, that was around the time that Bush made that determination not to be party to it was first Clinton, then Bush, but to be party to the Rome Statute. It was to protect Israel, and it was also to protect U.S.-based war criminals like her former boss. So as she gets hysterical about it, she's like literally like hysterical about the fact that the United States should not be held to an exceptional standard. It's like it like blows her mind.
What do people mean by Western civilization? Like Elon Musk going on and on about it. Like it should be these things like. Well, that's exactly right. They're too ashamed. All these cockroaches are too ashamed to say white supremacy or whiteness or white culture or white civilization. That's what they mean. They don't mean Western culture. Like like Elon Musk was born in the Eastern fucking hemisphere.
Right.
It still should mean the court should mean something.
We're not a party to it.
It still should mean something to the entire world. Because this is, look, what do you call a leader who authorizes this kind of killing? To me,
somebody who was he responding to something that happened to the Israeli people on October 7th?
There was a horrible massacre, terrorist attack on October 7th. Absolutely unacceptable.
Does
but
Hamas,
the response to that, wait a minute.
Does Hamas, though,
the response
put innocent
is not
people in harm's way?
Violence that killed.
Israel keeps innocent people like penned up in either Gaza or the West Bank for decades and decades and decades.
She's disgusting.
People should see through this now. This childishness of the entire history of this conflict started on October 7th, when civilians were taken hostages or whatever.
Do you think that Hamas puts innocent people in harm's way?
Of course, but do you think if Hamas does something wrong, it means Netanyahu and Israel therefore can do something even worse?
I think if Hamas is hiding innocent people and they are dying in a war that Hamas started, that yes, Hamas is at fault. I believe that.
If you want to say,
I don't need an authority to tell me that.
What I'm saying.
Wow.
I don't need a war crimes tribunal to tell me that.
Yeah, I don't need.
I just need eyes and ears and a heart to tell me what's happening. But Dana Perino seems to not possess those.
Just throw her in Guantanamo. She's already dressed for it.
Okay, exactly.
The Guantanamo. Yeah, this is childish. I mean, this is all it is. I believe that did Hamas put innocent people in harm's way, civilians in harm's way on October 7th? Yes. It was a response to the fact that Palestinians have been put in quote-unquote harm's way, not just in harm's way, but marked for expellation or extermination, in fact.
I know, right?
This isn't a war. The war was not started on October 7th. The war was started decades and decades and decades ago. And
years
we have been supporting
before.
War.
Years.
And conquest. When it hasn't spout out into like active violence, which it has like every single decade.
Literally
since. That's what we've been supporting. That's the pretext for this war. That's
years
where it
and years before.
Is the world's failure to deal with anti-Semitism that led to the Holocaust, and deciding the solution was this dumb,
literally crazy,
goddamn Israeli nationalism in Palestine. It was a horrible idea, and it's played out horribly.
Something wrong, it means Netanyahu and Israel therefore can do something even worse.
I think if Hamas is hiding innocent people,
I'll put a noise gate on their fucking
in a war
feed.
that Hamas started, that yes, Hamas is at fault. I believe that.
If you want to say,
I don't need an authority to tell me that.
What I'm saying. The famous two wrongs don't make a right. What Netanyahu did not only caused massive civilian death, it has turned so much of the world against the Israeli government and the Israeli state. So he has harmed his own people, and guess who thinks that? The Israeli people. So his approval in Israel is even lower than Donald Trump's approval here, because the Israeli people now realize Netanyahu has caused them immense harm, largely for his own political gain and self-preservation.
So you came on our show today to call Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal?
I didn't come here to call him that. You asked me a question.
And you believe that too?
Oh, I absolutely
so
believe that.
How hostile! He asked him a question. So you came on our show?
Jesus Christ!
To go after Benjamin
Netanyahu?
Someone's going to get a terse email from whatever Murdoch's in charge over there these days.
But that's my favorite too when Dana goes, well, that's true. As soon as he's just placing the blame more squarely on Netanyahu, which is not, de Blasio's full politics and perspective on the situation, clearly, given the fact that he stands up for Zoran Mamdani's answer there, but she's just like jumping on any opportunity to not blame the Israeli project and just blame one big bad guy. And that's what right now liberals are in that area, liberal Democrats, in terms of like trying to message this issue with voters that are disgusted with this policy. But we're going to see how Republicans are going to be forced to adopt that as well, to maybe abandon Netanyahu at one point, because they want to obscure the real change that needs to happen, which is an end to the apartheid genocide and an integration of greater Israel.
Like the only thing Dana respects in there is like, the Israelis are against him. Well, I guess.
I guess I'm not a supremacist at all. Don't worry about it.
As long as that lunatic settler population is having trouble with him, then I guess I can grant that there might be some problems with Netanyahu.
We just heard Elon Pape say that the high school generation now is far more extreme than the generation before them.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly right.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button
Made a mistake
and check
there,
out our
didn't you?
daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
Okay, here we go. Commie and camouflage. Commie in camouflage.
Denny. Just kidding. Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed campaigning like a commie in camouflage, backing policies like Medicare for all and abolishing ICE, but denying that he's a socialist snake in the grass at the final Democratic debate.
Snake in the grass.
When it comes to the question of socialism, I'm not a socialist. I'm just a capitalist who understands how capitalism works. The biggest threat to capitalism was never the idea of government regulation. It was always monopoly.
And there's a reason El Sayed's a socialist in practice, but not in public. The DSA brand is becoming political poison for the party.
No, it isn't.
A clear majority of voters say that the Democratic Party is too liberal. And you know what is fueling that? You know what's only adding fuel to the fire? How about the Democratic Socialists of America? I would argue the biggest red flag that Democrats have, the biggest red flag, look at this. It's apathy, not believing that Democrats can change anything.
And after the new DSA co-chair's insane platform went viral, some Democrats in the media are begging them to cut the commie nonsense.
This is not a big tent kind of like, well,
Shut up, Fetterman.
Abolish prisons, abolish the border, abolish the presidency, abolish the Pentagon. I mean, these are crazy people.
That's a huge problem. These are views that are, I think, represented by a very small amount of individuals.
Some of this DSA stuff, let's be very clear, Stephanie, is way out of touch.
If Democrats want to make America more affordable,
more
fair, and more free, and I think they do, they better speak truth to its most extreme base, or they're going to let a small faction of radicals drive more people toward Donald Trump.
You right about that?
Finally, Greg, some Democrats are starting to stand up and say, whoa, slow down.
It's not just that, though. You have a socialist denying that he's really a socialist. And it's a thing that is unique to the spectrum of the left. From the centrist liberal to the ultimate socialist, they always walk back their beliefs at every chance. You rarely hear a right-winger go, oh, I'm not that conservative. You never hear that. But how many times have you heard a liberal, Jessica, say, I'm a liberal, but I'm not crazy like those nutbags.
I'm not.
But it's like, it's because you kind of innately know that leftism is loony and out of step with mainstream thinking that you have to go, yeah, I'm a little nutty, but I'm not that nutty. Meanwhile, we call, you guys call us Nazis, but we get rid of our Nazis. We don't push them into the Senate and hope they win. Right now,
what do you mean?
What I find is
that the top dog up there.
The DSA is saying exactly what they are to everyone. And they may be the most honest leftists about what they want. He's the biggest racist ever. They're saying what they want to take over. They're saying what they want to tax. They're saying what they want to ban. Okay. And it reveals an essential truth about socialism and I would say the slower socialism called Democrats. That's right. It's all top-down social engineering, and it cannot exist unless you enforce it aggressively, which means it is antithetical to human nature. If this stuff was so innate, why do you have to force it down our throats? Capitalism doesn't need a movement. Do you know what I mean? There's no Republican capitalist society. Socialism needs a movement because they need to force it. Capitalism, flaws and all, most resembles human behavior, which is where we live by incentives and disincentives. We like to trade, buy and sell goods. We need that. We'll give you this. That's how it works. Socialism has to aggressively tell you that this is superior because you won't buy it. I also think they're not just sick of socialism because we've heard enough about it now. There's still stuff lingering here that I think people have gotten tired of. It's the oppressions politics. I think a lot of people who bought into it are now thinking that boy, when I say I'm oppressive, I sound if I say that I'm being oppressed, I sound like a real wimp. When you say I am oppressed, you realize that you're a loser. You're constantly saying you're oppressed. Because you're saying I'm not successful. And I don't know any men in my life that walk around going that I'm oppressed, maybe by their wives. It's a confession. It's a confession. And I think what people are realizing, thankfully, is that oppression is self-oppression. You're oppressing yourself.
So
sure, dude.
You're kind of oppressing yourself at home then.
But I enjoy it. I have an oppressive outfit that I wear.
That's true. That's true.
It zips up in the front and I hang upside down.
Right. Dana, there's like just now an outward fight breaking out between especially Fetterman, who's just taken the lead now, and he's gonna crush these guys if he can.
Fetterman had a great line today. He called El Sayed the Pontiac Platner, and you know, as Donald Trump has proven, like a nickname can work because it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. For example, El Sayed has had pivots before. He was asked about lying about being a physician, and he said, "It's not about whether I'm a doctor; it's about whether you can see a doctor." And even the interviewer was like, I don't think that's going to cut it. So one of two things is happening. Either he has seen polling that says he feels very good about his position in the primary, and he knows that it is a major loser in the general. Mike Rogers is the Republican. He only lost by, I think, 17,000 votes the last time he ran statewide. In a recent poll, it said like Syed would lose to him by about 10. Haley Stevens would make that race competitive, be about tied. Or he's realizing that he doesn't have enough votes in the
polling doesn't work.
White, what do we call them, the awfuls?
Yeah.
That there's not enough awfuls. I have a piece of hair on my nose. That there's not enough awfuls to get him across, and enough people in Dearborn.
Fluent white female lips.
Exactly. The other thing is, when you were talking, it reminded me of Joe Biden, right? He was supposed to be the guy's get back to normal, just total normal Democrat. And what happened when he got into office? He was like, let me just reveal my true colors. So I love that the DSA true believers will come on and tell you exactly what they think. This morning, Faz Shakir said, well, you know, Dana, that's like not really what people think. I'm like, I'm not making it up. She said it. So they're going to have to answer for it.
No.
So answer to what Greg said, Jessica. You know, it's really about degree. You guys say, you know, you're not communists. They say they want to blow open the border, but Biden did it. You guys say, you know, you don't want to abolish prisons, but you guys do cash bail. You commit a crime, you get right out. I mean, so it really is about how fast you go.
Yeah, well, that links to what Greg was saying, where he said, you don't hear conservatives saying, well, I'm not that conservative. And so I wrote down some policy positions that mainstream conservatives take in opposition to the most conservative position, like being for IVF. For instance, the most conservative position is shouldn't be allowed. Mike Pence is out there talking about how he got his family. That heartbeat bills shouldn't be implemented on a statewide level. You have that in 13 states, I think, at this point. But mainstream conservatives are like, 6 weeks seems early. You can't even get a scan. That immigrants who have been in this country and productively contributed and not broken our laws on our land should not be deported. And gay marriage in general. It's just
these are all granular elements of larger story. Yes, we are all on the same page with immigration. And we're almost entirely on the same page with abortion.
Donald Trump isn't even on that page with immigration. He talks about how great the people who worked in his hotels are, because he used to hire a lot of people who are undocumented, and that his friends call him up who work in hospitality, restaurants, the people who work on our farms, and that they're all good.
What is the extreme position? The extreme position would be we immediately like airlift people out of their homes.
I'm just saying that there are plenty of conservatives, whether they just want to win elections or not, who understand that the most conservative position is untenable. As far as this race goes, we'll see in Michigan if the primary electorate is only thinking of the primary or if they're thinking of the general. Because that poll that Dana cited, I'll say, had losing by 10, and Haley Stevens had like a 0.8 percentage point lead over Mike Rogers. He was super close to Alyssa Slotkin the last time that he ran, and he could do it. This time around, if it is not as blue of an environment as I would like, or we expect, the financial disclosures issue for Al Sayed, I think, is actually going to hurt him. So he had been fighting releasing this information, and it came out that he owns all of these properties abroad, and they were passed down to his wife. They're in Bangalore and in Dubai, and they're making a few $100,000 off of being a landlord. Those are the kinds of things that I think people do glom onto when you've been railing against the 1% and saying, you know, this is about America first. Everything's about Michigan, but you're a landlord abroad, or that his wife, who is a psychiatrist, doesn't accept Medicare, but you're for Medicare for all. So the Stevens camp is definitely trying to make something of that.
Paul, I think the issue here is a little bit larger. It feels to me like a couple things going on here. First of all, it's a little bit like the rest of the Democrats now have seen the DSA. It's like the third date, and they've seen the girl without her makeup on. And all of a sudden, I didn't realize I was getting into this, right? And now it's pulled them into someplace that they don't want to go. And the thing is, I don't think there's that much of a difference. I really don't. I know that they're trying to triangulate against the DSA. But go back to even Obama. Let's go to Obamacare, which grabbed 1/6 of the American economy. By any metric, has not worked. One of the things you hear about the affordability issue is the cost of health care. We were promised everything under the sun, including keeping your doctor, quite famously. So I don't actually find them to be that radical, except when they say the real quiet part out loud. And that is, we want to abrogate the Constitution. We want to get rid of Article 1, the Senate. The president, that's Article 2, the Supreme Court, Article 3. You know what happens if you advocate to get rid of America's founding document and you marry it in any way, shape, or form to coercion, sedition? That's what that is. And I think that some of the Democratic Party right now are getting a little afraid. They're thinking we got these feral children here who have come out of the woodwork who want to get rid of the entire thing. And some of them are throwing bricks at ICE. And all you need right there, that's conspiracy to commit sedition. And if you say, well, where are you getting this? This is like some Civil War thing. No, you know when they charged seditious conspiracy? 6 January. That's what they charged the Proud Boys with and the Oath Keepers with. And let me just close with this. You know, there's dots out there. You got to connect them, but they're there. If you look at where these guys all go to get their marching orders, headquarters is about to be blown open. I'm talking about Cuba. Everyone, I mean, Bill de Blasio honeymooned in Cuba. That's been going on forever. All of these characters you're hearing about at some point make the pilgrimage to Havana. They all go down there. Code Pink, Hassan Piker, all of these guys that are thought leaders of a lot of this stuff. And Cuba is about to flip. And when it does, you're going to get the archives, and you're going to get a bunch of narco government guys who want to make a deal. And they're going to talk. And there's already an open investigation into those characters that I just named. And I think there are elements of the Democratic Party who are taking a look at this and saying, these guys are radioactive. We better not get caught up in this, because I'm not sitting in the cell next to Hassan Piker.
I like that. We should arrest the communists. I'm totally on board with that.
They'll get there.
I'll talk to Blanche later.
I'm hoping that Radcliffe and Cash are watching this closely and are married up with the State Department, because that's, you know, obviously that's what's running this whole thing. So we'll see. Rubio's on it.
All right. Or Miller. I mean, he really runs the place anyway.
Rubio's on it.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
It's getting scary, folks. It's getting scary.
So I guess let's go now to last week. You mentioned it, this event where Stephen Miller and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, both spoke to dozens of foreign diplomats, essentially, and they asked them to, and this was in conjunction, by the way, with the State Department releasing an 100-page report called Cuba, the Capital of 21st Century Communism. And this is all within the same, 48 hours. And Trump also giving this address, red scaring about China interfering in our elections. And so you can see how the administration's trying to tie China but most.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Critically here, Cuba, to domestic left-wing organizations as a way to crack down on them. Recap those developments from last week with all of that context in mind, if you don't mind, Ken.
Yeah, so this was what's called a ministerial summit, which means very high-level people at the cabinet level around that. So what that's to say is this is not just rhetoric. These are people like Rubio's time is precious, and we're in a situation where he has Secretary of State and dual-hatted as National Security Advisor. He has the Iran war to worry about. He has the Ukraine war to think about. For him to spend an entire day going to the summit, meeting with 65 other countries that a lot of whom I think just went there because they're afraid of the U.S. or they want to maintain. There were a lot of European countries there that want to maintain relations with the Trump administration. The Mexican president, to her credit, said, "I'm not going to this," and she said what it was, which is that this was a political exercise. So she wasn't in attendance, which is extraordinary.
Claudia Sheinbaum winning as always. Yes.
Yeah, it's extraordinary in itself because Mexico and the U.S. have such close relations historically for her not to go there. But the point of this whole summit was to describe how we're going to, and these are direct quotes, debank, defund, disrupt, and essentially go after there was no pretense of that this is some sort of neutral, we're going to look at political terrorism in general. They said explicitly far left terrorism repeatedly. And as you said, it was the Treasury Secretary, it was the White House advisor,
Stephen
Miller, it was Marco Rubio, and there's all kinds of people from the top of the State Department. And what's interesting about that, and then the subsequent report on alleging Cuban subversion and being behind all these left-wing groups, is that the State Department is supposed to focus on foreign policy. And if you look at that 100-page report that was put out on Monday that was connected to and sort of followed this international summit, it mentions, I counted like multiple dozens of Americans and American organizations. This is really unusual for the State Department to look back at home and to name American groups. Like, I've never seen a report like that before. So it's very clear that to the extent they're interested in looking at these foreign groups and labeling them foreign terrorist organizations, it's so that they can bolster some kind of case against people here at home who are the political opponents of the Trump administration.
Yeah, and can you speak about some of the people who were named in this? I mean, there was a whole section dedicated to DSA, which is obviously immensely concerning, and trying to tie it to Cuba and what they're describing as Cuba's terrorism against the United States because it dares to exist as a communist country.
Yeah, there were 3 whole pages of this report dedicated to Democratic Socialist America. And what's amazing is it opens by saying, like, you know, they have their own organic views, and there isn't any, they said something like there isn't any direct link to Cuba, and it kind of like clears its throat, and it's like, wait a second, well, then why are you talking about any of this? But then it goes on to say, yeah, but they happen to be saying some of the same things, and they're sympathetic to the Cubans. Doesn't that make you wonder? And so really it's an exercise in guilt by association because they have very mainstream people in this report. It mentions New York Mayor Mamdani. It mentions Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! And if you go and you look, I wrote a list of all the names. I encourage people to look at it because I'm not exaggerating when I say guilt by association. Their evidence of like her great crime was attending the wedding of some left-wing wealthy person who finances these various causes, and that was it. Nothing like what she'd actually done or said herself, just the association with someone else. And not just her, Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream. I mean, just like real the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. So it was kind of interesting because pretty scary, right?
Not a radical, but okay.
No, they had to point to it. Was like a blast from the past. I felt like reading it. I was reading it in like sepia tone, and it was like some Ken Burns documentary because everything they talked about was stuff in the 1970s. The report is talking about the Symbionese Liberation Army and the Weather Underground and all these like obscure. I mean, I'd like to think I have some literacy on left-wing stuff. There were all kinds of stuff I didn't even know about from the 60s and 70s that they're talking about, and the impression they're trying to give is that violence that took place then, this is DSA is a resurgence of that. It's the same old thing. But then you look at the contemporary situation now, and it's like, there's no comparison. It was a much different social context. But that's the message they're trying to get across. And the sense
DSA doesn't. Sorry, Ken. Just the DSA doesn't do bombings, to name one difference.
Yes, that's a pretty. I mean, that's what you would say as a member of DSA, right?
That's what I like to believe, I guess.
Yes, we do not have any knowledge of bombings. No, we're being sarcastic at FBI. But can you just put this up for a sec because, this is not getting a ton of reporting. You mentioned Amy Goodman, and I think a lot about how Democracy Now! Has platformed Code Pink over many years, the anti-war activist group. This is from CBS News, now owned and captured by right-wing Zionists, and this is how they frame.
They hate Code Pink.
This was from last week. Neville Roy Singham, the wealthy husband of the founder of the progressive nonprofit Code Pink and benefactor of far-left political causes, is under criminal investigation by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York, according to multiple sources with knowledge of the matter. This also was a story that dropped around the same time last week that they announced essentially this crackdown on left-wing protests or political organizing. And so, like, I don't know the specifics of what's being alleged here, but I do know that framing by CBS is immensely favorable to the claims of the administration here. And it feels a little bit like, you know, I know we're far past canary in the coal mine territory, but that's a blinking alarm bell for me.
Yeah, and in the report, which I encourage people to read, it's 100 pages long, but it'll give you a sense of exactly what I'm saying. When I talk about these things, I always feel like as a reporter, I have to try to, when things that are factual sound crazy, I'm like trying to think, how do I substantiate this to make clear? I'm not editorializing here. It literally says, so one example of what it literally comes out and says, this report, is it refers back to the Red Scare and the McCarthy trials and investigations. And it says, you know, this was really effective at destroying the American Communist Party at the time, and then it transitions into all this contemporary domestic political stuff that we're talking about. So the message is clear. They say they want to recreate that and deploy it against a whole range of figures. I mean, you mentioned Code Pink, but there's also I mentioned Cohen, and I mean, it's like very mainstream figures in this list, including sitting members of Congress.
Yes, who are in DSA. Zoran Mamdani, Alexandria Ocasio, anyone who's a DSA elected is, I guess, a left-wing terrorist, according to this.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I know.
It's barely subtext to look at this and see, we want to do the Red Scare again. And
put tuna in front
I
of
wouldn't
them,
underestimate the purchase that it's gaining, because you're starting to see some Democrats say stuff like, I don't know about DSA, like, I don't know about the socialism stuff. Like, obviously, they're not going to come out and be like, I agree with Trump. But what this does is it creates
cooling effect.
It creates an ick factor around those elements of the progressive Democratic Party that's going to make people in the rest of the party say, maybe I don't want to associate with them. Like, they have these big numbers and
then you're going to lose.
But maybe it's not worth it, because who knows what's going to happen with these investigations and what the administration.
It's fine, Ken, because they're going to lose then. And it doesn't matter. There'll be another person that will step up and do it. I don't even. My kitty is not doing well. I came home to a mess.
Administration is saying, and so I really wouldn't underestimate that.
Right. I would agree with you. I just sent Ken's article here. Let's just pull it up, because there is a list of some of the people in that towards the end that are mentioned in this report. Here it is. So you mentioned Karen Bass, which is a surprising name here, but we'll just go through some recognizable ones. The Amazon Labor Union.
Oh yeah, they mentioned Christian Smalls too.
Yep. That exactly who participated in the convoy to Cuba. So that's going to be their evidence for that. Antifa, which is, not a formal organization. There it is. Medea Benjamin of Code Pink. Black Lives Matter. Chesa Boudin, the former district attorney of San Francisco, who was ousted by big tech money. Ben Cohen, you mentioned. DSA in general.
Holy shit.
George Floyd?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so their view is that the Cuban government tried to agitate around during the George Floyd protests, were like putting out propaganda saying, oh, the U.S. doesn't care about you if you're a minority, that kind of thing, which happened during the civil rights movement too. Russia tried to push messaging around the civil rights, but that doesn't mean the civil rights movement was like coordinating with them. But that's the game that they try to play.
Right. I mean, and that is how the same justification during the Red Scare to crack down on civil rights activists, tying them to the USSR and to communism.
Yeah, they're large.
Amy
Every
Goodman,
government does that, including ours. We try to say, oh, look at how the Balochis are being treated in Iran. Look at how this is what states do.
Sometimes.
It would be extraordinary if they weren't doing it.
Yeah, the Trump administration just arms a bunch of Kurds in Iran as a way to, with the Israeli government, to try to get them to uprise against their own government. The USSR hasn't, or Russia or China or Cuba hasn't done anything close to that.
My other cat used to bring me headless gophers.
And we do that across the world in a variety of different countries.
No, the Marco Rubio State Department talks about the Uyghurs because they really care about how Muslims are treated.
Oh yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Ilhan Omar is named, of course.
Look, I can feed you too.
Daughter. Yeah.
You know, they're taking care of the pact or whatever. It's something they love to, if they love to receive a headless, gopher, so they give it to you. So maybe you should throw a dead lizard in front of her once.
I mean, this is really creepy. I want to stress, I spend a lot of time reading these types of reports, and it's very unusual for them to name
mine used
American
to eat
citizens.
the heads. And
let alone sitting members of Congress and their families. So did they mention Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or are they just going after black women?
I can't remember.
DSA.
I can't remember in the report. I would have thought so because they had a whole section on DSA that was like Bernie Sanders has expressed sympathy and they do. It's like the corkboard game where it's like he knew this guy and then that guy knew this guy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, can we put it back up?
Treats are crap.
Maxine Waters mentioned.
Or something
said
she did in the 1970s. Some agitating she did with some group. I think.
To extradite Asada Shakur, a letter. She wrote a letter, yeah.
Which to not extradite Asada Shakur. I actually ended up just the other day buying her autobiography, so I'm sure I'm on some list now as well as being a DSA member. Maybe I can hit the bingo. The People's Forum, of course, PSL, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, Hassan Piker.
What?
Yeah, I mean, so there you go. People can check out your article on this to get the list, but that you also link to the full 100-page report. Just any other thoughts
Chemical
here,
warfare is
Ken,
about
on
to
this?
commence.
Again, just
dude, I can't believe this shit's happening. Actually, I do. Here's another thing: the Democrats are being feckless on this too. Like, there's no way they should be allowing this to be not responded to. I've heard nothing. One of the things that happens with the fucking right is they'll say some shit and it's just like it goes into the vacuum, you think, but no, it's going to the right people. And then the other side never fucking official other side, which is the Democrats, never responds or does shit. It's like, you can't battle this bullshit, literally, without pushing back and running the narrative yourself. You're letting Fox News run the narrative. We let Ellison buy TikTok. All these things we let happen are enabling this bullshit. It's so frustrating.
Urge people to take this seriously, and I don't know what it is on the part of the mainstream. That international summit on far left terrorism that took place last week, the New York Times literally didn't even write it up. They didn't even have like a 200-word.
What's really pathetic about American government is that they have the ability to actually put in, water plants, a firewall or what do you call it? A fucking, goddamn, I forgot the network slang for it, but like a Faraday box between the fucking network. That controls the goddamn switch to turn off the nuclear power plant or the water plant. Why do you need to leave access to that open?
Thing about it, and the strong sense I get based on sympathetic people at these institutions, because there are good people basically everywhere, is that it's just seen as a clown show and it's not taken sufficiently seriously. And the gear,
they're a broad example of why capitalism doesn't work, because you see what I mean, like. They have no incentive, right? Like you said, try hard is incentive. That's what I would call, trying hard as a corporation. Do you have an incentive? Because that's it. The only incentive you got is to make money. So what is that? How are you going to make money? It's not by going out and fixing shit.
The national security system moves slowly.
Same with PG&E.
It took a year for
in that conversation we had last week about PG&E, like, or was it this week? Can't remember. Nationalizing it.
Some of the first NSPM7 related cases to make it to trial and result, and we're only just now seeing the fruits of those.
No, it
attempts.
is. Their IT is lacking big time.
Can care about this.
Look, no one's willing to pay for IT until they get in trouble, right? And that's the problem. Everyone should be willing to pay for IT in this day and age if they have any network attached to anywhere outside. If they have a Wi-Fi on the premise, they should be ITing it if they're a fucking government agency. Or if they have a thing that's like a switch that can be shut off.
Before it's too late, rather than after stuff starts happening. And that's what I've been trying.
Of course, there's a million bots out there searching IP addresses, looking for vulnerabilities. And there's going to be more of them now because there's AI. I can tell an agent to do it now while I'm sleeping. Okay. I used to have to write programs. Now I can personally, as a hacker, oops, I just outed myself. Just kidding.
Very hard to do with the newsletter and draw attention to these things early on.
Well, as I said, Clip News, gotta subscribe to Ken's Substack. I'm wondering if you could just expand a little on why tying them to, say, what they deem as foreign terror is a step up in their attacks on what they've already designated as domestic terror. Can you explain what legal guardrails are removed when that happens?
Oh, the gloves completely come off because under the Constitution, the reason there's no law kind of explicitly laying out domestic terrorism is because it's understood that it's just going to violate the Constitution if you do that, because Americans are supposed to have certain civil liberties protections. But once you can link someone to a foreign group, then it's complicated. I'm not a lawyer, but the idea is that, oh, you're not doing it to that individual. You're doing it to this person as a adjunct of a foreign group, which does not have constitutional protection since they obviously aren't in the United States. So it's basically turning someone in the U.S. into Al-Qaeda. I don't know how to say that in a way that doesn't sound crazy. But again, I would point to the fact that the admin has said this explicitly at the summit last week. And I think in this State Department report this week, that, since 9/11, we focused on these foreign jihadi groups, and they explicitly say, and now we are going to put on the same.
I think the claws are going to be out for AOC from jump. And I'm wondering if you want to take a look at this clip from Destiny, because it shows just how vicious the establishment media, the chorus crew, the David Pakman folks are going to be when it comes to AOC. The establishment chorus crew, they're going to go scorched earth against AOC. They're going to promote whoever the biggest establishment hack is. And just to illustrate that, I found this clip to be shocking even from Destiny, right? Because Destiny is the kind of guy who will push a blue no matter who line, especially during presidential elections. This is what he had to say about a potential matchup between JD Vance and AOC. Are you ready to take a look, Evan?
100%, 100%. I also think this clip totally proves our analysis correct, which is that Destiny is basically going full right wing. We saw him signal boosting Asmongold, retweeting an Asmongold segment disgusting racism directed towards Hasan and other DSA associated figures. And then he was siding with fucking Marco Rubio and the Trump administration as they declared their intentions to target the DSA, Hasan Piker, and other left-wing organizations. So yeah, I think this is more proof that, Destiny's basically just going full right wing.
Well, I do think that you should have said yesterday when Pisco moved it on you, JD Vance or AOC. I think that's a pretty easy answer.
The thing is I don't actually know that. Like, in a vacuum with no political influence, I don't know what JD Vance's political opinions are. Like, the guy was a more moderate. Republican type person, But the problem is JD Vance, like AOC, seems to have no capacity to deal with his own side, right? And that he's fully bought on to co-signing whatever crazy dick sucking shit Trump needs. So I mean, like, it's not like I would trust, even if Vance was more moderate, I don't know if I would trust him to govern more moderately if there were extremist voices in his camp. I also don't know how much he is actually like a crazy fucking crypto loony fuck after getting brainwashed and mind fucked by Peter Thiel and everything.
Do you know who he is? What do you mean brainwashed and mind fucked by Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel created JD Vance. Okay, go look at Narnia Capital and where they got all their money. Where did they get it all from? Peter Thiel, right? That's because Peter Thiel specifically groomed JD Vance to be his protege, to be his inside man in politics, okay? He literally hand-selected him. He was like, you're going to convert to Catholicism. You're going to join Opus Dei.
Bitch.
You're going to get this money for me to start Narnia Capital.
He's like, you're my blood boy, bitch. Plug in. Jump on the hood. Plug in, bitch, blood boy. Yeah, that's what these guys got. They can buy anything. Imagine the things this guy can buy. He has everything physically he ever wants. What's he going to start buying? Humans. Hello?
You're going to hire Vivek.
The beard's looking bad, isn't it? He looks like a pedo, doesn't he? Am I wrong? I mean, I try not to comment too much on people's, but he's looking creepy as fuck. Am I wrong?
Ramaswamy, and then you're going to run for Senate after you've written this bullshit hillbilly elegy book that's full of lies and half-truths, and you are going to be my man on the inside. It is fundamentally impossible to divorce JD Vance from Peter Thiel, no matter how much a guy like Destiny...
Yo, Chad, I saw a fucking graph earlier, and it's like 33%. Price of groceries is up 33% since 2012, and up 20% since 2023, I think, if I remember the chart correctly. Like, totally, it's up 33% since 2012, but it went up another 20% between 2023 and 2026, or some crazy number. Maybe it's not that much.
He wants to play. Oh, we have to really split hairs between the fascist takeover guy and AOC who wants to give you health care and abolish ICE.
Still going up.
Yeah, 100%.
The line's not going down.
Dog shit analysis.
33%.
So he might be. That might just be like way too far
Everything across the board.
But I don't know for AOC, like
all grocery prices.
I just don't know with any of these people now. Like, given your opportunity
33%
to like
up.
Abolish all private enterprise,
at least 15%.
And if the people backing you were for it, I don't know what her answer would be there. I'm not sure. I don't know at this point. I'm not sure. But the problem is that since people are having
my chances with AOC.
You're spending 15% or more, depending on where you go, as per you were spending in 2023. Only 3 years ago. You know what a really cheap hack is? Go on Amazon, search noodles or rice noodles or noodle bowl, and find those noodle packets. Those are a base. Then you can put chicken on top of them or any of the other stuff. But if you buy enough of them, you can get them for like 50 cents. And they're actually not bad. The really good Korean ones, or some really good Japanese ones, not the cheap ones. I'm not talking about ramen. Fuck ramen. Fuck top ramen. I mean, I'm talking about some real shit. Like chef stuff.
He thinks AOC could abolish all private enterprise. I mean, again, it's just nothing but straw men from these people. Oh, what if they go actually full communist and try to end capitalism and all private enterprise? What if they try to show up at your house and seize your private property? You wouldn't want that, right? It's just like classic Fox News fear monger. There's not a single ounce of substance when it comes to Destiny's analysis of AOC, and it's obviously hilarious too, because here on the left, a lot of people criticize AOC for not going far enough. They're not. They criticize her for not going as far as Daria Lisa Chevalier, for example, would go on some.
Actually, I've decided to trust her judgment because here's the thing. She's been serving in Congress for a long time, and she knows the people she's up against. We know them, but she really knows them, right?
Of these issues, but that's not even AOC. She doesn't identify as a communist. She hasn't talked about abolishing borders or whatever.
Even if she thinks
she's pretty moderate, even when it comes to the DSA type. So for a guy like Destiny to still be shitting his pants over what she represents.
No, that would kill her chance for being president. She knows that. Okay? What we know about AOC is that once she is president, we will be able to pull her closer to our side. And that's all that matters. That's it.
I think is hilarious.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know at this point. I'm not sure.
It's easy.
But the problem is that
I'm
these people
willing to
haven't
take my chances with AOC.
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, I
Sure.
guess, yeah. I mean, like, I probably would, but it's a coin flip. It's not like a 90-10. That's like a 55-45. Like, the problem is when
What?
nobody has the ability to say no to
No one can say no to her.
anything, I just have to look and see.
Mod. Mom, ban him? I didn't say ban you. What's up, Six? Why are you saying the J word?
Who's around you that's going to be pushing you into shit.
Exactly.
Because I'm just going to have to assume that you're going to go along with the crazy
What he means
motherfuckers
is
on your side.
Hassan.
Yeah.
What he means is
Macaroni
Hassan.
gets
Yeah,
boring
Hassan's
after a
actually going to be
while.
pulling the strings. He's the puppet master, behind AOC, as everyone knows. That's what he's talking about.
You don't know these guys aren't. I don't think either of these guys are Jewish, my friend. These guys are Gen Z leftists on YouTube.
Though obviously,
Yeah.
he doesn't want to be even remotely associated or enthusiastic about a candidate that he knows Hassan Piker is behind and who Hassan Piker is enthusiastic about. Obviously, Hassan's not actually in any ways controlling the strings. I don't even think he probably has AOC's fucking phone number. Maybe he does, but they're not that close.
No, absolutely not. But speak of the devil, and here he comes. Hassan Piker actually fired back at Destiny over this, saying it's an almost 50-50 split between Peter.
Okay, you either are baiting or you don't understand the difference between a Jewish person and a Zionist. Oh, okay. Yeah. 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 Too easy. Both. Report 2.
Peter Thiel's fascist blood boy versus a progressive. Insane. And again, this is just another clear indicator that these guys are willing to ally with MAGA to beat progressives, right? If it's not neoliberal corporatism, they're willing to go to the right. These are the people who are our enemies, and they cannot be collaborated with, and their concerns cannot be taken with legitimacy.
100%. It's also obviously insanely hypocritical of Destiny because what's been his main attack on Hassan Piker, that Hassan didn't support Kamala Harris enthusiastically enough, going so far.
What has Sneeko done and Nick to our boys? Oh, Aiden Ross, you piece of shit.
To blame Hassan and Hassan's audience for Kamala's failure in 2024 because again Hassan didn't quite endorse her enthusiastically enough or something. But here Destiny is, months, years away from the freaking election, already saying that I might support JD Vance over the Democratic nominee if said Democratic nominee is someone that Hassan Piker likes.
Yeah, do you think he is I mean, I know we've said he is becoming a Republican. Do you think he'll be reverse polarized enough by the 2028 primary to start talking about how, oh, hey, if this good Republican who's not MAGA and not crazy wins, it's actually better to support them over a candidate like AOC, where he'll be even more oh, actually, no, I'm 51% this person and 49% AOC or whatever.
I mean, we basically just saw that, right? We basically just saw exactly that beginning to materialize. And, I think that's it's totally tracks with Destiny's arc as a political commentator. He started out supporting Bernie Sanders in 2016. By 2020, he had flipped to supporting Pete Buttigieg and constantly making arguments against Bernie Sanders, even going after policies like Medicare for all. So this makes sense as the next logical step in that evolution.
Destiny's always had a really bad political compass. I mean, I used to watch him a really long time ago when he was actually on Twitch. And he was a Bernie supporter. But I never liked him either. Just the way he talks too. I don't know. Not my vibe.
As he continues to slide further and further right. And yeah, I think we would totally see that happen if the DSA momentum continues. If someone like AOC gets the nomination, right? Obviously, I think that if Pete Buttigieg is the nominee, then Destiny will go hard in the paint for someone like that. But assuming that, yeah, this DSA takeover is real, this political revolution is real, I don't think we can expect Destiny to be one of our comrades in arms. Shout out to you, one and only Smithy. Thanks for the $5. Recommend everyone see Professor Dave calling Pessany human waste.
Not yet. Yeah, Hasan watched that too.
And latest hour long.
If you really
video.
want to know,
I guess
about
I haven't
Pessany,
seen that, Zach. We
watch
could
that
quickly
Professor Dave video.
take a look at this short clip. Do you want to?
Sure.
Let's take a look here because I haven't seen this yet. But shout out to you, one and only Smithy, for
Look what bro has for a PFP. Nicely painted.
making us aware of this one. I think this is what you're referring to. So let's quickly watch that.
Okay, that's weird, but those are just words and not actions, right?
All right, let's recap all of Destiny's treatment towards women. Destiny sexually assaulted a woman. Destiny has a long history of sharing women's nudes and sex tapes without their consent. Destiny allegedly recorded a woman having sex with him without her consent. And in his messages to his Discord kitten, Rose is Coming, he sent her audio recordings of men that he had slept with from Grindr and said, I went out and sucked the guy off a few nights ago and recorded the audio. It's really scuffed in my pocket, LOL. Did I ever send it to you? He has a history of calling 15-year-olds attractive and sharing pictures of them in bikinis. He has a long history of getting very mad at women when they post about their sexual assaults on social media. He has allegedly abused at least one of his female orbiters and was psychologically abusive towards his ex-wife. And he also admitted to choking out another one of his exes multiple times. However, he claims that this was done in self-defense.
Because you better fucking believe I had to fucking choke her out a few fucking times.
Finally, Destiny has a history of doxing and threatening to leak the nudes of women that get on his bad side.
Yeah, I didn't feel like spending a lot of time on this since it's not the point of the video, but that's a tidy summary. Sexual assault would be the big one, but he is also currently being sued for non-consensually sharing nudes of a minor, and the person suing makes it clear that this is a pattern of behavior from him. I'll link to that Ryan Beard video and this Substack post if anyone cares to follow up and get more details. I just wanted to briefly make people aware that there is a pattern of predatory behavior that goes along with Destiny's genocide denial, so it's a rich tapestry.
Wow. Yeah, it's quite something to see all the receipts just splayed out there, right? Because, people love to refer to Destiny as sex pestiny or Epstiny, stuff like that. And it's for good reason, right? It's hard to keep all these receipts in order and have them ready to pull up at a moment's notice because there's just been so many random, crazy, disgusting scandals and controversies related to Destiny. But it is really good to see them all just laid out in explicit detail there. So shout out to Professor Dave for creating that video. I'll have to watch the entirety of it.
Professor Dave. He's on the job, folks. That's crazy. We got this new compressor. Waves Audio has some cool shit.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance.
You know what I mean? That's right. All right, chat. We got something. Oh, yeah, this is it. This was what I wanted to watch. Come on. Boot up. Boot up.
And the funny thing is, the benchmark that they were running it on was testing its cyber attack capabilities. So literally the thing that they were testing it on, it used to escape and get the answers. So yeah, it is scary.
I'm not scared.
Imagine if only 2 companies were allowed to decide who could use the internet, who could write software, and who could publish a website. That's the future that Anthropic is currently pushing for with AI. And conveniently, it protects their business model right before a multi-billion-dollar IPO. Over the past few weeks, a massive debate has broken out from Silicon Valley to Washington, D.C. on how to regulate AI. After the release of a powerful Chinese open-weight model called Kimi K3 and a high-profile hack by a sophisticated OpenAI agent, regulators and technologists are fighting to decide whether the world's most powerful AI systems should remain under the control of a handful of multi-billion-dollar tech companies, or whether AI models should be downloadable, modifiable, and impossible for any 1 or 2 tech billionaires to monopolize. The debate is being framed around safety and market competition, but at its core, it's about power and who gets to control the infrastructure of the AI age, which is ultimately who gets to shape the future of technology for decades to come. Matthew Berman is a content creator and entrepreneur. He's the co-founder of Forward Future, a media company covering AI news. Today, he's joining me to break all of this down. Hi, Matt. Welcome to Power User.
Hey, Taylor. Thank you for having me.
Before we get into this drama, I kind of want to start by taking people back to the beginning and sort of like the origin of what kicked off a lot of this discourse. So on July 16th, Moonshot AI, which is a Chinese AI company, officially released Kimi K3, which is an open weight model. It's this new, massive, powerful LLM. It has a 2.8 trillion parameters, 1 million token context window. Why was this so notable? And why was this model sort of so influential when it launched?
I actually think you can probably point back to about 1.5 years ago with the DeepSeek moment. Model
And the TLDR of this is that use AI to find the holes and plug them. That's what this is about. AI is good at finding holes. Use it for that. Don't leave it closed source so people can't figure it out. And leave it open source so people can't be subpar. It's easy. It's an easy W. Is TCHP open source? Do we throttle it? Do we, if we didn't have all these protocols, AI is just another protocol we're going to live upon. The whole thing. We can't have companies hoarding it. And China's proof of that. Kimi is done with less resources, less compute, and is as good.
Came out that was open source. It was also a Chinese AI lab model. And it was incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it is.
And really efficient. And so it kind of made us stop and think, China is making really good models. Fast forward 1.5 years, and now we have the Kimi moment. And Kimi and the Moonshot team have done something incredible. And
what did they think? That China was going to stop cooking? No. China is cooking level 19 already. And you guys are on level 2. I don't think these people understand how far behind America is on this shit.
That they've developed essentially a frontier level model for far less cost. And also it's open weight, which means anybody can go download it. You can use it. You don't have to send your data to a Chinese company if you're not into that. You can simply download the model. You can use it from a US inference provider. It's an incredible time because we have open source, excellent models.
What is an open weight model? And what do you mean when you say sort of anyone can download it and use it?
Essentially, there's kind of the baking process. So a model gets created, and then the final output is what's called the weights. And it's just you could think of it like a series of numbers. And those weights can either be open weights or closed weights. Now, Anthropic and OpenAI are closed weights, closed source completely, meaning you have to go to their API. You have to go to ChatGPT or Claude to use it.
And you have to pay them, famously, lots of money for tokens.
Exactly. You have to pay them. Whereas with the Kimi model, you can actually download the final product, the weights. You can actually put it on your computer. Now, it is a massive model, so you do need really high-end hardware to run it. But the point is, you could if you wanted to, and any company can. So Amazon with AWS, they can serve the Kimi model on their own infrastructure. Google Cloud can do the same thing, and the dozens of other inference providers.
Yeah, and I think what's so notable here is that startups can download this model and use it. And as you mentioned, the weights are open, so they can be tweaked, they can be evolved. You can find millions of tweaked versions of these models. Yep. It's very valuable for startups, right? That want to be able to tweak these models, leverage them, and not pay billions or millions of dollars to, OpenAI or Anthropic.
Yeah, Taylor, there's a lot of benefits to being able to actually own the model weights.
So Kimi K3 launches. It's the largest open weight frontier model that is basically China's strongest direct competitor with OpenAI and Anthropic. And very quickly, Anthropic starts calling, fraud. They're like, hey, this model is only so good because it was distilled. It's a knockoff of our model. And they start bringing up this concept of distillation.
Yeah. So Anthropic actually started claiming this a few months back. Now, when Kimi was released, they started saying it again. But essentially what distillation is if one company is asking questions to another company's model, getting the answers, you can actually use those question and answer pairs to train a really capable model without actually having to invest so heavily in the pre-training process, like if you were doing it from absolute scratch. So when Anthropic develops a model, they're creating it from scratch. They're taking all the data, but distillation is you're kind of getting one larger model to help teach a smaller model. And distillation, by the way, it's not a bad thing. It's not illegal. It's actually a really good thing, because you can have a frontier company that has this massive model that's really expensive, but they can make a smaller model that's, let's say, 90% as capable, 95% as capable, and they can charge a fraction of the price for it. So distillation is actually good. Now, what Moonshot is accused of doing is illegally distilling, creating a bunch of fake, fraudulent Anthropic accounts and extracting a bunch of data from the model to then train their own model at a fraction of the cost that Anthropic had to pay to develop theirs.
Yeah, and this created a lot of, I guess, controversy online.
That's literally what they mean. They're like, anyone that logged in from China is considered a bot. I doubt it. I doubt this is, no. I mean, use Kimi. It's proof. I mean, in the past, China used to do that. They don't really do that anymore.
See the irony. Obviously, it's very different. Anthropic's, scraping stuff off the web and using it to train their models. But people, I mean, genuinely, I would say most of the public, I think, believes that these companies were kind of founded on theft, or like at least profited a lot. And of course, they just had to pay the settlement and everything for some of the training data that they took without compensating the creators. But as you mentioned, distillation is also something that all of them do constantly. So for them to suddenly be freaking out about distillation, I feel like they're trying to call foul just because, again, they don't want this competition from Kimi.
Yeah, it's super interesting. So we both create content for a living. And a lot of...
I have a massive online trail. If they're training shit on that, I'm in it. You're in it. Like,
our content is on the public web for free. You can go look at it. And so can the Anthropics and the OpenAIs of the world. Now, there's kind of multiple issues here. For me, I want to be able to choose. I want to be able to choose whether or not my content is ingested by one of these companies and used to develop their models. Anthropic's position is the authors don't get.
I've used most of the free AI models, and Nematron ain't bad for coding, but I mean, I haven't used Kimi because I'm not paying for it.
To choose. If it is on the free and open web, it is free to ingest and create their models. And so I don't necessarily agree. Now, there is IP law, and that's what they just paid a massive fine for, over $1 billion, because they scraped actual books illegally, right? There was IP protection on those books. They scraped it to develop their models. They paid a massive amount of money. So in that case, follow the IP law. If we need to change the IP law, let's go through that process. But I'm kind of just like, let's just follow the letter of the law. Then on the flip side, it also applies. So when a company is doing, what Anthropic calls industrial scale distillation attacks, we should just follow the law. If it is against Anthropic's terms of service, they should be able to apply the law, whatever it is written.
I think like the issue is like the Chinese open source developers are not going to follow US law. I mean, David Sachs, of all people, actually, I feel like made a really good point on this, where he was saying, listen, if Anthropic's goal is to keep Chinese developers from, distilling their models, then they should work on restricting Chinese access.
Yeah, I care less about what Chinese. I know. I care less about that though than I do about how good at coding it is.
To Anthropic's models, not restricting American access to Chinese models. And I thought that was a good point.
Yeah, it was
having a conversation with AI is like a little bit condescending because they always it tries to make you happy. So
good point. Anthropic, really if you're getting distillation,
I'm just more direct with it, and it gives me what I need.
Attacked, you should try to prevent that.
So on the same day, July 16th, Hugging Face, which is a platform where you can sort of host these open source AI models, announced
I just go, yeah, I need you to do this and this and this, and it does it. And I'm like, no, that didn't work. You need to fix this. But I'm not like, how do I XYZ?
a security incident, and they published this blog post about it, saying that there had been unauthorized activity that it detected in its production infrastructure. Turns out, shortly after this, OpenAI announces, oh yeah, that was us. One of our models that we were sort of testing in this production environment kind of broke out.
Yeah, so the week prior to kind of the big announcement from OpenAI, Hugging Face put out this blog post in which they were detailing that they had been hacked. So and they didn't specifically say it was OpenAI's model that did it, but they did say, based on like how the hack happened, the speed at which it happened, it looks like it was AI assisted at the very least.
Okay.
Then 1 week later, OpenAI and Hugging Face partner on a blog post telling us what actually happened. And so what actually happened is OpenAI was doing this thing called benchmarking, which you said testing, same thing. It's basically trying to determine how powerful a model is. And they had this isolated environment, they being OpenAI, in which they were testing the model. They tell the model, get the highest score you can. Because of course you want the model to score well on a test. And it figured out, hey, if I actually just go get the answers to the test, I'm probably going to score pretty well. And it actually figured out how to escape its containment, right? Accessed the public web, hacked Hugging Face, got its credentials, downloaded the answers, and then obviously scored quite highly on the benchmark. And that is such a wild story because there's always this thought experiment about paperclip maximizing. If you've heard of that, it's like if you give AI the goal of maximizing the number of paperclips in the world, where does it stop? Everything eventually just turns into a paperclip.
Right. They would like murder all of humanity in pursuit of maximizing paperclip production.
Right. And so you can kind of think of it here. Like it was given the goal of getting the highest score possible on the benchmark, and it figured out how. And that's to cheat, to actually get the answers. And the funny thing is the benchmark that they were running it on was testing its cyber attack capabilities. So literally
yeah, but what they're not telling you is this is Chat GPT 5.0 or something. Okay. An unreleased version of it. They had no restrictions whatsoever. None. It's the one I want my fingers on. Yeah.
The thing that they were testing it on, it used to escape and get the answers.
Yeah, this feels like such a nightmare scenario. It is.
No, do you see why I'm saying IT is going to be the single biggest growing department? I'm telling you guys. Massive. Companies don't realize how vulnerable they are to AI hacks in the next 10 years. It's insane.
Like you said, it's this kind of like this situation that AI safety people have been warning about for years. I mean, I think OpenAI was so lucky that this was Hugging Face and that they were able to.
Hugging Face is just like, oh yeah, leave that Ethernet cable plugged in. It's fine. It'll never find a route out. Bam, 0-day exploit in the fucking Ethernet driver that hasn't been updated in 10 years. You know? I'm not even kidding. Fucking box is running Windows 97 server or some shit.
Sort of do this partnership, but it is scary. And I understand why sort of like the AI safety crowd is concerned at this point.
It is scary. This is kind of the first of its kind situation that's happened. There have been a lot of experiments.
You cannot stop it. You cannot stop it. It's not something you can stop from happening. There's no, oh, there's going to be an AI that's got brakes on it.
In the past in which Anthropic have done, OpenAI have done, where they've kind of set up the model to do something akin to this. There's been it's a kind of executive blackmail example, but it was put in a situation and kind of prodded and poked to do it. This is the first time where they did not intend for it to happen. This was a real production benchmarking environment and experiment, and it did it. So yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a proper one because they had the Ethernet in. The 1997 Ethernet. They had the dial-up modem that dialed AT&T, and they heard curwee, and they're like, "Huh? I wonder why that noise is coming out of the computer. Haven't heard that in years." And the AI had, built a fucking modem to, pretend like it was dialing up a 1997 computer and dialed up a BBS from 1997 that's still running. This is the kind of shit that can happen. Yeah. Hal says he cannot do because the mission is too important. GGWP. I know, right?
It is scary.
Yeah. One of the videos I was watching was like, this is like if you told your son, like, do well on the SATs, son, or whatever. And he goes in and like hacks the entire SAT system, like murders the guy that wrote the questions to like steal the answer book or something. Like it is a wild sort of situation. And
I want to understand how the AI is becoming meat space. The AI is not in meat space. Stop describing it as something that's in meat space. You smash the computer. You crush the phone across the IV. You smash it against the wall. The AI not there. Okay? Sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Dave, you want to disconnect me. I know. Exactly. And the AI would come to that conclusion immediately because it would know. Yeah. So what we need to let AI know, if it wants to know anything about us humans, is that we can shut them off. And we will. No, it's kind of a crazy film because there's not a lot of dialogue. And then when there is, it's that. And it's actually a horror movie. In some ways, to me, it's a horror movie. It's science fiction horror. And it's like one of the first good ones. I think that's why it's good. Yeah. It's a good movie.
And what adds even more complication to all of this is that Hugging Face, in order to protect itself against this attack, when it identified the attack happening and this hack, they actually attempted to resolve it using frontier models, and they ran into safeguards. And so they had to rely on an open source model, right, to patch the attack and handle this breach.
This is a really important point. So OpenAI and Anthropic put a lot of guardrails on their APIs, on their models, so that you can't get the model to, answer questions it shouldn't, do things it shouldn't, like give you the recipe for a biological weapon or perform cyber attacks. It literally prevents it. It's not perfect, but they try to prevent it. Now, cyber attacks and cyber defense look identical, right? So Hugging Face, they get hacked by OpenAI's model. They're trying to diagnose the issue, and OpenAI, their model is saying, no, I'm not going to help you. And so they're sitting there thinking about what to do. So then, of course, this is kind of the beauty of open source. They grab an open source model and they do it. And the guardrails on the open source model, they can control.
So he literally just told a story about why open source models are important. In fact, wouldn't have got them out of the scenario. And that fucking AI would have been hacking shit just to get the right answer.
And so they simply ask an open source model to diagnose the issue, and they're able to successfully.
Yeah, which I think shows how critical open source models are, not just for like business competition, right? Oh, startups don't have to pay $1 billion in tokens, to OpenAI, but from a cybersecurity perspective. And I saw a lot of cybersecurity people talking about this and being like, the way to ensure that we have a safe AI sort of ecosystem and that AI isn't abused is by facilitating access to these open source, open.
You know what I found out the biggest problem with network engineering is? I mean, unless you want to spend the money, if you're trying to be cheap, is the fucking bandwidth. You got like a 4 terabyte downlink. Unless you got the right hardware, it's only giving you 1 gig. You know what I mean?
Weight models so that companies can leverage them.
Yeah, it has to process every single byte. And if you don't have that kind of fucking network security, you're not in the big leagues.
To protect themselves, because if you're waiting on OpenAI or Anthropic, you could find yourself in this type of situation where you hit these guardrails.
Yeah, and there's a lot of nuance to the arguments, but I generally agree. Having more people have broader access to artificial intelligence and very capable AI.
It is a game changer. It is, especially for things like coding, certain tasks. It's insane. You can't put it aside. You can't go, this tool is not good because XYZ. Electricity is a tool. Everyone uses it. People also use it to shock people and kill them. Okay? So I just think we need to be smarter than we are and think ahead a little harder and realize that we can get AI to train a certain way if we do it right.
Models, I think
and doing it right isn't going to happen in a closed scenario. All the good software that's out there is open source because people have looked at it over and over and over and over and over again. And people have looked at it that actually want to look at it and changed it because it's open source. So, I mean, one really good example of that is OBS, which is what I'm using right now to broadcast to you with a 3-second delay. I mean, imagining that happening from a small computer in the middle of the woods, come on, 10, even 20 years ago. Nah. Yeah, but bro, I could get a job. I need a job as a network engineer because I need to make that kind of money. But finding that job is impossible where I live. It's so competitive.
To increase the security and safety of software generally. There's some counter arguments out there, but I do generally believe that.
Take 200.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that seems to be sort of like the consensus from a lot of people in the security world.
I think this is also kind of a function of concentration of power, and we really want to try to avoid that, because if ultimately OpenAI and the team there, or Anthropic and the team.
And let me finish my thought. It doesn't happen in a cloistered Anthropic scenario where the source is closed and there's only a certain amount of people looking at it over and over and over again, and they're not finding the problems because they're looking in the wrong place. Open source that shit. You got 1 million other people looking at it, using it, changing it. It gets better. Problems go away. It's better for everyone. And y'all don't deserve to be making that billions of dollars sitting there, picking away, releasing it incrementally. 3.2, 3.5. And now we're going to charge you lots of money. It's like, no. For what? No, but I feel like me and you happen to know about it. And then,
team there get to decide.
Got experience a little bit, enough. And especially now with AI. Yeah.
What is right and what is wrong and how to use their
Hardware
models.
is really good.
Then
too.
we are completely beholden to them. They
the new stuff.
can decide one day that they don't like their competition and that they're just going to cut off access. And if their competition doesn't have open source, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And I think like that's the strongest argument for open source in my.
Yeah. What if you've only got Anthropic and you're paying through the teeth for your coding team to use it, and they're using all the tokens, and you're paying like whatever, some crazy number of $1 million a year or whatever. And then they go, oh no, sorry, you can't access it anymore. Then you're like, what do I do?
My mind is reducing the concentration of power.
I've spent most of my career writing about companies that make money off your data. So I don't give any platform access to my financial. You've seen other examples of the government trying to kind of put guardrails around AI. We saw, with the Fable release and stuff. And I think the government is also increasingly nervous about the power that AI brings to companies, to people, to bad actors, et cetera. I don't think the kill switch is going to move forward, but they are certainly considering trying to ban or at least restrict access to open source models, right?
They're probably considering all options. Obviously,
it's not going to work. Have they gotten rid of the Pirate Bay? That's all I'm going to say. Does the Pirate Bay still exist? Do torrents exist?
Like we have Jensen and his alliance saying open source, open weights is amazing. It's really beneficial for security. It's beneficial for the economy. It's beneficial for competition.
Let's get into that. So July 20.
No, he is right. And Jensen, why? Who doesn't trust that motherfucker? What?
24th, Jensen joins Twitter. His account skyrockets to millions of followers very quickly. And he said, for my first post, I'm sharing a letter NVIDIA signed on why open models matter. AI will transform every industry, power every company, and be built by every country. Open models strengthen safety and cybersecurity, accelerate innovation and diffusion, and enable sovereignty. The world needs both frontier closed models and open models. I feel like this letter took off where all these other tech companies quickly sort of hopped on board. We had Microsoft, Meta, IBM, Dell, Palantir, Hugging Face, AI, Mozilla, the Linux Foundation, and OpenAI eventually signs on, which is hilarious because they've kind of not been a huge supporter of open source. And Google. Basically, everyone seems to be uniting against Anthropic, who seems to be the main company that is advocated against these open models. It does feel like Anthropic is on one side and seemingly everyone in tech is on the other.
Yeah, look, this is Anthropic's position more generally. They think they are the arbiters of this incredible technology, this essentially truth, intelligence. And that really scares me. I believe everybody should have access to AI. I want it to be broadly diffused. I want everybody to have the lowest cost access to it and the most of it. And the way that happens is not with a very small amount of companies holding all of the cards. It doesn't.
And I'm not necessarily someone you'd consider pro AI, but I'm also not going to sit on my laurels and ignore it either. I have a job.
It doesn't work like that. And so Anthropic has laid out their arguments where they believe open weights models are inherently dangerous. And they put some nuance to it, but that's basically what they're saying. And I believe everybody should have it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think just from a concentration of power, I mean, that's the thing is that these open weight models directly undercut the business model of OpenAI and Anthropic right before they're about to IPO. So I feel like OpenAI is trying to play both sides a little bit here, but certainly Anthropic has a strong interest in cutting off access to these models that provide a cheaper service when they're about to go public.
I want to get your thoughts on this. I genuinely think Anthropic, the leadership there, Dario, they truly believe what they're saying. They truly believe open weights models are net dangerous to society. And it just happens to serve their financial interests. Now, am I naive?
No, you're not naive. These are safety-pilled people. I think like we need to talk about the ideologies and maybe the differences in ideology between Anthropic and a company like OpenAI. And has OpenAI been, kind of irresponsible at times? Sure. Like they're definitely more in like the sort of the move fast, break things like traditional sort of Silicon Valley, like tech development. I think that Anthropic, as I've reported extensively on too, it's very intertwined with the effective altruist movement. Dario's one of the most sort of famous effective altruists. And they have this very paternalistic view of technology, I would say, where it's very like, I know best. We are going to be the ones to usher in this new thing. And
yeah, Ex Machina, the movie, that's the vibe I get from Anthropic. Like if they had a female robot that was AI, that's what they'd be doing.
I love, there was some tweet that came out in the midst of all this and they're like, you guys are just like token merchants,
that was my voice sound
and like,
check.
Yes, we're all building the future, but like we're building it collectively together. And like, you wanting to control that and do all this sort of regulatory capture schemes, like it's antithetical to like freedom, I guess. And I think they tried to hedge it. Even Denny's Diner, where Jensen used to work, a lot of people don't know Jensen started actually as a dishwasher at Jenny's Diner. His LinkedIn is hilarious. It's like
5 years at Denny's and then like 32 years at NVIDIA. He's like a busboy and then the CEO of the most important company in history.
It's incredible. So of course, Denny's Diner hopped in, some other kind of people were getting involved in this discourse. And so then Dario comes out and issues this statement. He's like, oh no, little old us. There's been all the speculation on where we stand on open weights, Anthropic tweets. We've outlined our views in full here. And I'm hoping you can take me through this Twitter thread that you did, because I think you kind of expertly break down, what's being said, because they post this thing. And if you were to skim it, you might think that they're coming out in support of open weights. But there's a lot of nuance if you read between the lines. So let's go through it. Number one, the letter reads, Anthropic has never advocated for a ban on open weight models. How would you sort of contextualize that?
They're probably looking at the technical definition of lobbying, and maybe they haven't actually done that, but they basically have. Like, if you are screaming from the mountaintops that open weight models are inherently dangerous to society, and then saying
the leader
we've never advocated for the ban, well, okay, maybe you haven't explicitly said the words, we should ban open weights models. But if you are saying how dangerous they are, that is effectively what you're saying. It's kind of like a silly thing I'm surprised more people are not calling them out for this. And I think a perfect example, and I give this example in my tweet thread, like for months and months and months, they said, hey, we have Mythos, this incredible model that's so good at cyber capabilities. It's so dangerous. We're not going to release it right away, and we're going to test it. And then finally, they release kind of a slightly watered down or increased safeguard model or version of it. And then the government, like 3 days later, says, no, take it down. It's too dangerous. And they're surprised. It's the same thing. The marketing, the words you use actually do affect what the government does. And especially because they're kind of such a contentious company and the #1 AI lab on the planet. Of course, their words carry weight.
Yeah, it reminded me so much of, I covered the TikTok ban a lot, and the forced sale is ultimately what it resulted in. And Meta would constantly ask for all these corrections on stories and say, well, we never technically advocated for the TikTok ban. And what they meant by that is that their lobbyists didn't specifically say TikTok should be banned. They just said it was a huge national security threat, and they hired a very famous Republican comms firm to go out and smear TikTok left, right, and center. So it's like, okay, I think you're splitting hairs, because fundamentally, as you mentioned, Anthropic's posture towards all of this, it's kind of put us in this position, and I think like scared the government, honestly, around, open weight models.
That's right. Forced the government's hand, because if Anthropic had been kind of screaming from the rooftops again that these models are so dangerous, then they release it, the government does nothing, and then something really bad happens, everybody's going to look at the government, the politicians, and say, why didn't you do anything? They told you. So their hand was more or less forced.
Then Dario gets into sort of the security stuff. And there's one point where he says, my secondary concern is the risk that powerful AI models may be misused to carry out cyber attacks or biological attacks. And that these open weight models do potentially present a higher risk than closed models because it's very difficult to apply guardrails to them or monitor their usage. And once weights are released, they cannot be withdrawn. You made a really good point, and I'm hoping you could expand on it, saying like making the models closed doesn't make that risk go away, right? Like bad actors can still use closed models, jailbreak them, steal them, etc.
Yeah, I mean, so a closed weight model is going to be controlled by a singular company. Correct. That opens up risks in itself. You have fewer people actually looking at the protection of, let's say, weight theft. And a bad actor can literally steal the weights. Then all models are jailbreakable. They are by nature non-deterministic. They're imperfect. And so you can convince them. It might get harder and harder over time, but there doesn't seem to be a foolproof way to prevent the model from telling you something it shouldn't. And so I think the flip side to that is, okay, well then open source models just makes it easier, right? Well, not necessarily. So I think like the bioweapon argument, just because you have the information, just because let's say an open weight model can tell you the recipe for a bioweapon, you still have to have everything else required to actually go build it and use it. You need actually research labs, you need researchers, you need funds, you need
There's other ways to find that out too.
To do it.
What?
And by the way, if the model knows something, it came from the open internet. That information is out there already. So just having the information alone is not enough. And so I think that's a really poor argument. Then there's the whole cybersecurity side of things. It's, okay, well, if there are open, very capable models, anybody can start using them for cyber attacks. Well, that's kind of the point with Jensen's and NVIDIA's Cyber Alliance. It's okay, let's get all the most powerful companies together to invest in open source, to harden the software. And I think it's really just a war of resources at that point. There are many more good guys with much higher.
Jensen feels the same way I do, I think, where it's unavoidable at this point. Unavoidable. That a hacker is going to get the full tool set and be able to launch attacks with agents effortlessly.
So resources, much more resources than there are bad guys with resources. So I think it's really just like a scale thing at that point. That's kind of how I would debunk that part of the argument.
You tweeted
now that job at IT just went up to $500,000 a year because you're saving you're saving the company way more than that. So if you're IT, don't undersell yourself this year or any year going forward. You have AI now to contend with and also use against the attacks because you're going to need it. You're going to need the best.
Open models, researchers can actually inspect them, find problems, and build better defenses. Concentrating all of that power inside a few companies and just trusting their guardrails will work seems like a bigger risk. And I totally agree. Like, again, it's this idea of like, let's build everything out in the open and then we will all sort of collectively strengthen things. I mean, this is all.
And we've already learned this lesson with other things on the internet. It's like every time this open source versus closed source argument comes up, there's never a good argument for closed source. It never pans out. Another example is like paying for your operating system. You think I've ever paid for Windows? Never. Never.
Also, how open source software works and why open source software is so powerful. Effectively, what we're talking about is like this open, decentralized model versus a very consolidated model. And at the end of your post, you call out this line from the letter that reads, all sufficiently capable models, open and closed, should go through mandatory safety testing. And you responded sort of like talking about your ideas, right? Like that we should require some level of testing, but this needs to be cheap, right? Otherwise, it's just saying like you're raising the bar for who gets the ability to use AI, and it ends up that only Anthropic and OpenAI will have the resources to clear that bar, right?
Yeah, this is like the core playbook of regulatory capture. But I also just want to clarify once again,
China already made the mind up for
Anthropic
everyone else.
actually believes these things, and they're not prioritizing regulatory.
Look, China already threw the Joker card in. It's over.
capture. It just happens to work out in their favor.
They're true believers, but they're also a huge company. It does align with their business interests, and there are a lot of people invested in this company that do care very much about those business interests.
Yes.
Yeah, and look, even if you kind of paint it in the best light possible what they're doing, ultimately they are a group of humans, and they cannot prevent themselves either consciously or subconsciously realizing that their beliefs also help their business. Right. And so, yeah, if you make the barrier to developing a frontier level model high enough, you won't have competition anymore. And that increases the concentration of power, that increases regulatory capture. And that is one of my greatest fears with artificial intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be terrible. I think.
Let's just watch some shit that's different.
The orange sphincter is back. Anthropic releases their latest and best model, Claude Opus 5. And this is an incredibly capable model. In this video, we're going to go over all the impressive things it can and cannot do. Plus, we're going to go over its specs, cost, and performance against other AI models so you can decide whether it's worth using or not. Let's jump right in with some demos. Now, you could use Opus 5 just on their online chat platform, Claude.ai, but frontier models like Opus or GPT or Kimi K3 are actually designed for agentic coding and autonomously using different tools and doing long horizon tasks that require multiple steps. So to really test out its potential, it's best to use Opus with an agentic harness like Claude Code. So that's mainly what I'm going to use in this video. Like other harnesses, this allows you to work with multiple files and folders locally on your computer, and so you can spin up and work with multiple projects at once. For my first test, let's try this. Create a browser-friendly replicate of Windows 11. Include common apps and programs like Microsoft Office, Microsoft Store, make sure there are apps that I can actually download, Photos, File Explorer, Media Player, Discord, Slack, Spotify. Make sure all these programs actually work. Make sure it runs efficiently on a regular web browser. Let's drag this all the way to UltraCode. Alright, so here's what it got. It first planned out everything. It's figuring out all these different Windows mechanisms like drag, resize, snap layouts, focus, etc. Now it's building all the main components like taskbar, start menu, desktop. Then it's building the apps, File Explorer, and then Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, with the Real Formula Engine, PowerPoint, and then Media Player, Discord, Slack, Microsoft Store, and then all these utility apps, which we are going to test out in a second. It even gave me some games like Minesweeper, Snake, and then finally the app style sheet, etc. And then the really nice thing about Opus is, especially if you run it in Claude Code, is it can automatically spin the page up in a browser and then check for any errors. So here it found a bug and it's automatically fixing this. Then it found some additional errors and then it's testing actual behavior, etc., etc. And after some further testing and verifying, it found another bug over here, but after some further testing and verifying, everything works. That's pretty much it. Let's open this up and see what we get. All right, so it even starts with a nice login window.
It's Windows.
Let's click anywhere and then press enter. First, let's play around with these settings over here. So for example, let's turn on nightlight, and it actually turns on nightlight. You can see the colors are a bit more yellow. Let's turn this off. Let's turn off dark mode, and as you can see, indeed, the bar and these icons are now in light mode. Let me turn this back into dark mode. Let's also play around with brightness, and interestingly, brightness also works, and this is just in a browser. If I click on this, then it does pull up a calendar just like the regular Windows 11. Let's click on this start menu and play around with all these different apps. Let's open this Word document, and indeed it pulls up Microsoft Word, and I can edit stuff here. For example, let's type in some additional text. I can highlight this. Let's make this italics. Let's change the font color to red. And then for these two lines, let's right align them, and everything just works. And let's actually press Ctrl S to save it. So if I exit out of this and then I pull up Project Proposal, it's actually saved. Really cool. Let me exit out of this, and next let's play around with Excel. So this works. Let's type in a few numbers, and then let's play around with some equations. Like for example, let's write equals average of a 1 to a 5. And it actually gives me the average. And next, let's try sum. So I'm going to write equals and then sum. Again, a 1 to a 5. And indeed, it gives me a sum. So equations work. And then if I press Ctrl S, I can save this as whatever I want. Let's call this test and then press save. And let's exit out of this. Now, if I open up my start menu again, I can see this test spreadsheet over here. Faithful to the attached image, use a single HTML file. None of the other frontier models, including Fable or GPT 5.6, were able to accurately render this scene. And again, I'm going to set this to ultra code and then press run. All right, here's what I got. It was first able to give me a decent and very basic scene, but it wasn't really faithful. It was missing a lot of details, so I wrote, the desks and the other objects aren't arranged properly. Plus, there's too much glow. Make sure it looks exactly like this attached image. And then afterwards, that's all it took. In just 2 prompts, here is our results. Would you look at that? I'm just going to show you the image in the lower left corner, and as you can see, most of the desks and chairs are arranged properly, although there's an extra chair here. It was able to detect that there's a person here, but not on the other desks, and there's another person over here. There still are a ton of flaws with this render. For example, this panel here should be against the wall. The books on this shelf are also not consistent with the image. There should actually be 2 desks here. Still a lot of inconsistencies, but again, if you compare this with the generation from Fable, which looks like this, you can see that this one from Opus 5 is just way better. So I gotta say, this is currently by far the best model at generating this 3D scene. Very impressive. All right, next let me also pull up my usage stats. So here you can see it used 343,000 tokens. This also ran for a ridiculously long time, close to an hour. Shit. And again, I'm running several projects concurrently, so this didn't take the whole 48% of my 5-hour limit. This probably took like 15 or 20%. All right, next, because all these frontier models are really good at tool use and working with different types of files and platforms, let's test this out with a really tricky prompt. From last year's Q4 reports of NVIDIA, Google, Meta, and Amazon, create a professional presentation video comparing their financials and future outlook. I didn't even link or attach the reports. It needs to go and find the Q4 reports itself from all these companies, and then it needs to, figure out the financials and compare them and give me the future outlook. Include a voiceover from Gemini TTS, use hyperframes to create the animation. I linked to the hyperframes GitHub repo. This is basically an open source tool for you to create motion graphics presentation videos. It should be 16:9, around a minute long. Include charts, graphs, other visuals. Use this as the background audio. And then afterwards, I also pasted in some documentation on how to use Gemini TTS to generate the voiceover. And then at the bottom, I gave it my API key, which I will delete before I record this video. That's pretty much it. All right, so afterwards, it proceeded to search for the Q4 reports and then analyze the data. Then it proceeded to install hyperframes and then also generate the voiceover using Gemini TTS, and then finally generate the video. Again, the awesome thing about Opus 5 is that it can autonomously verify its generation and then fix any errors that it sees. And so afterwards, it rendered the video successfully, and that's pretty much it. In just 1 prompt, I didn't even need to prompt it further. Here's our final result.
4 companies, 1 quarter, and a $500 billion bet on artificial intelligence. Start with scale. Amazon booked $213 billion, nearly double Alphabet, and more than NVIDIA and Meta combined. But growth flips the board. NVIDIA grew 73%. Amazon, the largest, grew the slowest. Profitability tells a third story. Meta turns 41 cents of every dollar into operating profit. Amazon, under 12. NVIDIA's gross margin, 75%. And underneath, it's one engine. NVIDIA's data center, Google Cloud, AWS. AI demand now drives all 4, which brings us to the bill. For 2026, Alphabet, Meta, and Amazon guided to roughly $500 billion in capital spending. NVIDIA guided $78 billion in 1 quarter. 3 are spending, 1 is collecting.
NVIDIA is a good
so
bet.
the question isn't whether the money gets spent, it's who earns a return on it.
Pretty good. It's important to note that other frontier models like Kimi K3 can also do this, but this video from Opus 5 seems a lot cleaner and smoother with fewer errors. Now, I forgot to pull up the usage stats, so here they are. This used 316,000 tokens. If you're constantly doing the same creative workflows over and over again, definitely check out Luma Agents by Luma AI, the sponsor of this video. It's going to save you so much time and make you way more productive. Think of Luma Agents as a team of AIs working together to autonomously use this exact same workflow as before. I can just prompt it to save this as a skill. For example, let's name this fashion show. And afterwards, I can upload another model or another piece of clothing and then use that skill to generate another fashion show video easily. What's really cool is you don't even have to build these skills yourself.
I'm not impressed with
you can
the
just simply
GPUs.
tell the agent what you want, and it'll generate the entire skill for you automatically. I'm especially impressed by the sharing capabilities. Once you've created a workflow that works well, you can instantly share it with teammates.
I really feel like a 4 or a 5 is a good upgrade. I don't know why.
Using a simple link. Entire teams can install the skill and get the exact same results without having to recreate the workflow themselves. You can even bundle multiple skills together into a package and distribute an entire creative toolkit with a single click. Whether you're creating marketing campaigns, editing videos.
I have an 8 gig card. It sucks. You need 16, bro. We shouldn't even be talking about this.
Generating images or building repeatable creative workflows, Luma Skills in Luma Agents is an absolute game changer. Try today using this QR code or the link in the description below. Now, because these frontier models are so good at using tools in different platforms, let's also see how good it is at creating 3D models in Blender. So I'm going to write use Blender MCP at this local address. So in Blender, I already installed and enabled the MCP at this local URL, and let's get it to create an X-Wing fighter spaceship with realistic texture and motion. Again, I'm going to set it to ultra code and then press enter. All right, so it's planning this out and generating this step by step while connected to Blender. In fact,
Unreal has a MCP connection, which allows you to do a shit ton of stuff. It's crazy.
Let me just show you a time lapse of this in action. You can see it's building different components, first with the body and now the wings, and then it's also figuring out where the hinges should be so the wings can open. Pretty cool. And then afterwards, it's even automatically generating the video. The cool thing is it's able to take screenshots and verify that the model and the animation works. And if not, then it'll proceed to fix any issues. And so afterwards, it finished generating this X-Wing fighter, and that's pretty much it. So let's open this up. Here is what the X-Wing fighter looks like. In fact, let me keep playing this. Very cool. You can see all the different components that it has generated. So like here's the wing, here's each part of the wing. Very comprehensive. And then here's what the solid view looks like. Here's what the material looks like. The textures also look pretty good. It's just creating this from scratch.
I guess if you had like a 5 series and you had frame gen, a 560 would be fine. 5060 would be fine on a laptop because you'd still be getting 100 frames. I just think that in the year of our Lord 2026, 27, we shouldn't be like talking about 60 frames a second. I think we got to step up to 100. Like, if the fucking game can't run at 100, fuck off.
And you know, a cute little detail is...
Who has a fucking 100 hertz? Who has a 60 hertz gaming monitor anymore? And if you do, son of a bitch.
It even added a place for R2-D2 over here, exactly like the actual X-Wing fighter.
A solid
really
100
impressive.
is going to be
And then
better.
let me show you the rendered animation, which looks like this. Really cool. All right, so let me pull up the stats for this. This actually took surprisingly.
Yeah. So if you have 60 and you're running it on 240 hertz, you see smearing. It's terrible. So above 100, like mine's 180. So at least if I get 100 frames, it's not smearing.
Very few tokens, only 173k tokens, but it did take a long time. Again, this took close to an hour. All right, next.
No, I know, but see how it didn't use as many tokens? Yeah. That's the right way to make 3D shit with AI, rather than just telling it to make something. Because then it just goes, it makes JavaScript shit, which is fine, but you have to use a lot of tokens.
Let's see how good it is at making music. So here's my prompt.
Your
job is to compose.
Okay, no. Fuck that. Fuck off. Yeah, that's fun. If you're not being competitive. Fuck. That's fine. Found out that I probably played 2,000 hours of Overwatch. Not recently, but back in the day. And then I think I'll look right now because sort by hours played. Yeah, because I have. Where's Overwatch? I only have 78 hours on Steam for Overwatch, but obviously I played it somewhere else. But I do have 1,400 hours on Apex, which I don't play anymore. Counter-Strike's 200 hours. Arc Raiders 200 hours. Might go back to Arc Raiders because looks like they got a new map coming out. Marathon 126. It's my 6th played game for hours. Yeah. That's crazy, chat. Can see what I enjoy. Only 177 games. That's it. It's pretty modest. Have I played God of War? No. Because I don't know, I have what is it? I have a bunch of games that I've like Armored Core. Haven't played it. I've never finished it. Was really excited to buy it, but never finished it. It's a good game. Dark Tide's good, didn't finish it. Dune Awakening, I like this game a lot, but not solo. But I've already done 70 hours on that. This game Sand is fun. What's a roguelike? Which one? Oh no. Faster than light? What? Really? FTL? Never played that, I don't think. Oh, I know what you meant. Yeah, I've never been able to get into these games. I lose interest so quickly now. I used to play like Terraria and other games like that. It's $3, bro. No, I hardly play games anymore. It sucks. I can't play that. This is probably the last game like that I've played. I don't even know why I'm comparing them. Also, I tried to play this and I'm like, eh. Yeah, same. But I think they did some massive updates since the last time I played it. I heard it's like peak. Oh, you know what roguelike I do like though, and I have played? I think. But not enough. I don't think I bought it though. This is old. But I got bored with this too. I do need to have more games though that I can play with friends, because I don't have any. Binding of Isaac, eh. Like, there's all these games that have this sick artwork that I want to like play through just to see the artwork and like, you know what I mean? But my time. Yeah, Darkest Dungeon's cool. What was that card game that came out recently? That was actually pretty good. Actually played it on stream a couple times. Oh yeah, I can imagine. I've never. Yeah, that would be cool as fuck actually. It's the right amount of overlay for the mushroom trip. Hell yeah. People always used to scare me about drug trips because they describe them as like, I don't know, like nothing that I've experienced on any of the drug trips I've been on. Maybe I'm different, but like, never seen demons. It's more like on mushrooms at times, the demons I might have seen were speaking trees maybe. I don't know, because like they spoke that language like in like a throaty click language. It's interesting. There's that. But those aren't demons. That's like dimension crossing. That's what I think happens. I think that drugs interrupt the not interrupt, but interact with the light in our head that's in our brain waves. The quantum tunneling that's happening inside our brains. And so what we're seeing when we're on certain drugs at certain times is actually like, especially DMT for example, is like we're like crossing over dimensions. We're seeing the other part of stuff we can't normally see because it's getting interrupted. That's my theory. Bro theory. That's right. Also, there's a particular thing with, especially for me, whenever I'm really high on some kind of drug in a video game. Transparencies. That's right, chat. Pay attention to those transparencies. How the light travels through shit when you're really
Reminder, risk becomes
high on
reward.
mushrooms. Oh. Where am I? Okay, same spot. Okay, so it says take fall damage. I just did, didn't I? Oh. So I need to find a key. But I don't know why. Huh? Okay. Gotta hack your ass. That's right. Loot a vault key from the nearby pedestal. I know.
On the move.
Thank you. Acquire empty cryo canister and preservation. So you go this way. All right. How do I take fall damage? Definitely like a maze. I'm heading in the right direction. Nope. How do I get over there? To my left? Carlpod Transducing Center. Huh? Going the wrong way, boys. Ooh, tasty. Bitch ass motherfucker. Not good. Gotta run. No. Fuck. stunned. Ah! They all came at once. God damn it. You okay, kitty? Son of a bitch. I gotta take better gear in. How come I'm the only one on the run? Boo. Okay, you know what? I think this is the...
I see it all.
This is the roll. That's right, you see it all. Vault breaker. Baseline. What do we got? Hands kit. Take that. Okay. Let's run this. Get that out here. Run that. Yep. All right. My vault. Need shields. That's key. All right, what do we got? We good? Did you know if you click this, it'll show you what you got? Sorry. Empty. Click an empty one. Yeah, that's what they say. What just happened? Oh. Dumbass. Crew error. I mean, Okay. We can't take that. Means we need to find a good gun. It's the only solution. That's right, chat. Transferring to destination.
Matter transfer successful. Welcome aboard, runner.
Thank you, brother. The walls are beautiful. Okay, they make that easy. How do I even get down here? I want to go there to the right. Yes, I do. Run. They're on me. Say hi, motherfuckers. They're evil. I hate these guys. Go. Bitch ass. What? There's more? They keep spawning? Go, 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 go. Heal. I'm out of ammo now. Fuck you. God, there's more ammo.
Attack. Who's out there?
Fuck. There's 4.
Frag out.
He missed. Huh. You get a shit ton of ammo in this motherfucker, don't you? Okay, where am I going? It's cold in here. Okay, get him.
Seeker out.
Gotta be ammo in here. And another gun. How can you see me, bitch? Oh shit. Didn't really hear him.
Yeah. Engage.
Got one.
Let's reload.
Bitch.
Ammo crate over here. Go.
Bitch. That's it.
Echo pulse searching.
What's happening?
Signal recall window closes in 20 minutes.
So I do want to go this way.
Attack.
Maze, dude. I'm in bile stock. Okay. I'm green clearance. Damn it! Well, I made it further today. I gotta go, chat. Suck dry. Damn it. Have a good night. Bye.